After spending some few months learning to code, I want to tell anyone who wants to become a programmer and who is just starting out his or her career that depending purely on your motivation is a risky bet. You need to develop some good habits, habits that you stick to while learning to code. And here's why. If you depend purely on your motivation, later down the line, you will discover that in the days when the motivation is high, you might be able to put in more time to learn to code. In the days when you lack motivation to code, putting in as little as 30 minutes will be very difficult for you. And programming is not a skill that you can pick up today and become an expert in 3 to 6 months, especially if you don't have a background in computer science already. To start seeing progress in your learnings, you need to pay the price of being consistent and you need to show up on a regular basis. Because if you start skipping your class, later down the line, you will discover that even the things you have learned before, you might even forget them. So, depending purely on your motivation may even slow down your learnings because I doubt if you can be motivated throughout a period of 6 months without losing your motivation, even for a single week. But if you can, please use the comment box below. I would like to know how. And now that I have decided that programming is what I want to do with my life, I have developed some good habits that can help me along the way. Because previously, I was purely depending on my motivation and it really slowed down my learning. And so, here are the habits that I stick with. Habit number one, I try as much as I can to code every single day, even if it's 30 minutes or 1 hour a day. To be good at any skill, you have to consistently practice that skill. And this is true for programming as it is for other skills. If you want to be good at coding, you need to make out time to be able to practice this craft. For me, I'm a morning person, so I try to block out 1 to 2 hours every early mornings before I do any other thing. I feel like the early mornings are best for me because this time people are still asleep. It's just me and the quietness of the morning. And so the distraction is quite less and I can be able to focus compared to learning to code during the day. So for you, I will advise you check within your day and see when is the best time for you to learn to code but it is important that you practice coding every single day. Habit number two, planning your learnings ahead. This might sound very simple or even useless to you, especially if you have not tried it before. But as a self-taught developer, it's important you incorporate the habit of planning your learnings ahead of time. However, if you're going through a boot camp, this might not be very useful to you because the instructor or people organizing the boot camp, they've already done this for you ahead of time. When I've not incorporated the habit of planning my learnings ahead into my learning routines, I discovered that most times when I show up to learn to code, I show up and I show up confused because there are too many topics to learn. And because there are too many topics to learn, you might show up and show up confused because you have not already planned out your learnings. And so I will advise you to incorporate the habit of planning your learnings ahead of time. You can probably plan your learnings throughout the whole week. This way, every single day, you show up and you show up knowing exactly what to learn and when to learn them. Habit number three, learn to practice more than learning new topics. When I started learning how to code earlierly, I made the mistake of trying to learn everything that comes my way. Like, I used to think that if I am not learning new topic, I am actually missing out on something. That's not true. Of what use would it be if you keep learning something new, but you're not actually practicing them? When I started putting into practice the topics I have learned, that was when I started seeing progress in my learning. And if you're just starting out and you are also making the mistake of learning every single topic that you see or every single video that you see on YouTube, I want to advise you that you should take a step back and incorporate the habit of practicing what you already know instead of learning more and more things on top of the things you already know that you have not used. So instead of watching every single tutorial or reading every book you see, I will advise you take a single course on Udemy or take a single video on YouTube. Focus on the course until you finish it. And once you finish it, you try to build out something with your newfound knowledge. It is important to spend more time practicing than learning and learning and learning without actually using them. Habit number four, strategically take a day off. Because you have to be consistent doesn't mean you have to code 7 days a week without rest. But if that's you, that's fine. But it's important you take a day off every week to be able to reflect on your learnings and see if you're actually achieving your learning goals and to be able to set the learning goals for the next week. I try to take one day off every week to be able to rest, refresh myself, and plan for the learnings ahead. Because programming is a marathon, it's not something that has an end. So you can't kill yourself learning to code every single day. You need a day to rest and refresh. Habit number 5, cultivate the habit of sitting down and focusing for a longer period of time. If you're someone who cannot sit down and focus on something for a longer period of time, someone like me, you have to start cultivating this habit early, because as time goes on, you will start to realize that the 1 hour or 2 hours a day that you set out to learn to code would not be enough. Most times, only debugging error can take the whole 2 hours away. You need to start practicing the habit of staying focused for a longer time without being distracted, because along the line it will help you. If you know you want to be good at programming, you need to start cultivating and developing good habits, because depending purely on your motivation would not be enough. Fuel your motivations and your passions by developing good study habits. Like I said, programming is not a sprint. It's something you need to do continuously. And so, without good study habits or without good routines, it might be difficult to continue learning to code when your motivation is not there. After developing my own study habits, I started seeing progress in my learnings. And so, if you're just starting out, I encourage you to draw out your own study habits that you stick to. Okay. And so, this is all I have for you for today. Thank you so much for watching. Do have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.